and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
Race is doing it. Seen it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. You could be listening on the AM FM dial, KSHP, of course. You could be listening on the Occupy Democrats Network, on the Washington Press Network. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're on X. We're on YouTube, at PTL Radio Show, and, of course, pushingthelimits.live. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we have a big show lined up for you today. A lot to get to, a lot to go over. As we do every single day, I've got a couple stories to tell as I start the show today. And then we're going to be talking a little bit more about another endorsement that Donald Trump received from a fake Democrat. We'll talk a little bit about that. Get more into the RFK Jr. stuff. Some more developments. It seems like every single day, the far right is lying about Kamala Harris about something. They're trying to attack her on something that's not true. Here's a perfect example of what I am talking about. If they're not making sexual innuendos, Jesse Waters made one yesterday about her. If they're not attacking her because she had a relationship with Willie Brown like 30 years ago, if they're not attacking her because she's a woman or attacking the color of her skin, they're lying about her policy. I'll give you a perfect example of what I am talking about. So I wake up this morning and I see these people on the far right saying, Harris has flip-flopped on the border wall. She wants to build a wall. She's copying something else from Donald Trump. It is 100% a lie. I will explain. You see, when Harris and other Democrats and some MAGA Republicans put the bipartisan border bill together, which, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed and said it was a step in the right direction, Democrats and Republicans had to negotiate. The MAGA Republicans wanted to put more money towards finishing the wall. Only 16% of it was built. And Democrats like Kamala Harris gave in a little bit so they can get some things in the bill that they wanted. It's called a negotiation. When you negotiate with somebody and you give them something they want for something in return, it doesn't mean you totally am all in with what you gave them. Hence, money towards building the wall. That doesn't mean that Kamala Harris believes that we should build a wall. She certainly doesn't believe we should build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. But if it meant putting this border bill together and passing it, a bipartisan bill, which, by the way, would have been one of the most comprehensive bills in American history when it comes to the border, she agreed to do it. And what Republicans are doing, MAGA Republicans, buffoons are doing, is they're taking that negotiation that Harris was a part of, and Langford and many MAGA Republicans were a part of. They're taking that as, oh, she's for building a wall. No, she's not. She's never said she's all in for building a wall. She never will say she's all in for building a wall. However, when you negotiate with MAGA Republicans, we know how important it is for them to build that wall and Mexico pay for it, which they never will. She was willing to give in a little bit so that they can pass this border bill again, which the Border Patrol endorsed and said it was a step in the right direction. They are liars. The MAGA Republicans that are saying that she's flip-flopped on the issue are a bunch of liars, as I spell it out here on the air. And people were tagging me on Twitter. Oh, your girl, she's a flip-flopper. She wants to build a wall now. No, she doesn't. Notice how they don't have any clips of her saying that. Notice how they don't have. No, we have a lot of clips of a lot of crazy things that Donald Trump has said. If you go on social media today, did Harris ever say she's for building a wall and Mexico pay for it? Did she say anything of the sort? Of course she didn't. It is a joke. Don't believe what you hear. They are a bunch of liars. Just like when they say she stole the Donald Trump idea of no tax on tips. Her position on that is almost completely different than Donald Trump's position. You see, let me spell that out for my MAGA friends out there, and I'll speak slowly, so hopefully some of you can understand. You see, Donald Trump wants across the board not taxing on tips for anybody. This is why that's completely ridiculous, and it would never happen. First of all, we shouldn't believe anything Donald Trump says about anything because he never stands by what he says, but that's here nor there. Donald Trump makes that statement. Let me give you an example. You could have a stripper in Vegas making $500,000 a year in tips. By the way, some of them make that, if not more. And Donald Trump, by his policy, he would not want to tax any of those adult dancers. But yet he wants to tax somebody making $10 an hour at Walmart. Makes absolutely no sense. Kamala Harris wants to do is very different than what Donald Trump wants to do. How do I know this? Because she's talked about it in her speeches. That's why. She's actually on the record saying it. That she would do a no tax on tips based on your salary. Example. If you're a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant that has, cheap prices, you're getting paid $4 or $5 an hour plus tips, you're making maybe $20 an hour. Maybe you're making $40,000 a year or less. She doesn't want to tax those kinds of people on tips. By the way, I would have absolutely no problem with that. I do have a problem if you don't want to tax somebody getting $500,000 a year on tips, like an adult dancer. She's not stealing Donald Trump's policy. She's making it her policy based on differences that she disagrees with when it comes to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump makes all sorts of promises. Why would anybody out there believe anything that Donald Trump says? Why? We're going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. How did that work out? We're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. 16% of the wall was built. Mexico didn't pay $1 for it. We're going to put together a bipartisan infrastructure bill. It was Joe Biden that did that, by the way. Trump was unable. Why does anybody believe anything that Donald Trump says? Because if he's not talking about Hannibal Lecter and he's not talking about electrocuting sharks, if he's not attacking Harris and calling her dumb or stupid or saying she's not black, he's making promises that he knows he can't fulfill. Like every single time he looked at his wife, that's happened multiple times, and said, "Till death do us part." The guy can't fulfill a promise. He never will. He never will. So all this stuff is going on, and the MAGA Republicans out there on the far right are saying that Harris flip-flopped and now she wants to build a wall. It's a complete and total lie. So yesterday, I'll share a quick story with all of you, and I posted some of these screenshots on social media to prove it, because I don't make stuff up. Unlike Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans, I don't just throw stuff at a wall and hope it sticks. I don't make things up on this show. I'm honest, and I'm factual, and I will share you my opinions. Some people out there could disagree with me. That's totally fine, but I don't make stuff up. So I hit up Kash Patel yesterday. If you don't know who Kash Patel is, he's another MAGA moron who wears the Donald Trump knee pads. But I like having people like that on the show because I like to expose them for who they are. So I hit up Kash Patel on social media yesterday. He got right back to me. And I said, "Hey, I'd love to get you on the show." And he was at the start of the conversation. He was very nice. He said, "Sure. Here's my manager's information. You have to reach him on Telegram." Now, I thought that was a little weird because usually when somebody has a schedule or a manager, which is very normal, when I contact these people, they'll usually give me a handler, some sort of manager. Totally fine with that. I'm used to doing that. I've been doing that for over 20 years. But Telegram, I thought that was weird. I guess this guy lives in another country, which is fine. But I'm like, okay, does he not have an email? He wouldn't give me his email. So I speak to his manager, and his manager says, "Well, yeah, he charges for interviews, so you got to fill out a form." I said, "What?" I went right back to Kash Patel, and I said, "You charge for interviews? How much are you going to charge me?" He wanted to charge me. And by the way, this is all in writing on the internet. I took screenshots of it. He then blocked me. I posted this conversation, or at least parts of it, on my X account. He wanted to charge me $2,000 for a 15-minute interview. Now, eventually I told him to go F himself. And I told him that I've been doing radio for over 20 years. I've interviewed former presidents. I've interviewed, first ladies. I've interviewed some big-time celebrities like Robert De Niro, those kinds of prominent people. I've interviewed John McCain. Nobody's ever asked me for money. Now, I'm happy to promote what they got. It could be a book, could be a movie. That's the give and take, right? You do my show, which I appreciate. I'll promote what you got going on. If you have a book that you're trying to sell, your website, I'm always happy to do that for people. But nobody's ever asked me for money to come on this show. Kash Patel wanted $2,000. And then when I asked him why, and again, this was the most telling part of this conversation, which again, I posted on social media. I said, why would you be charging people? His response, Donald Trump told me to. Donald Trump, according to Kash Patel, told him to charge members of the media to do interviews. My response was, I wouldn't pay you $20 for an interview. And that's when the conversation went a little bit downhill. And eventually he blocked me. But I got it all in writing. Patel claims that Donald Trump told him and advised him to charge members of the media to do an interview. I told him to go F himself. It is unfrickin' believable. Can you imagine? He's one of Donald Trump's surrogates, for lack of a better term. I would call him something else. And he wanted to charge me to come on this show and do an interview. I got the receipts. I posted it on social media. I posted it on my Twitter page at PTL Radio Show. And then he blocked me after things got a little nasty between him and me. It's absolutely and positively absurd and ridiculous. So Kash Patel won't be appearing on the show anytime soon, apparently. At least Vivek Ramaswamy didn't charge me, right? At least some of these other Trump handlers haven't charged me for coming on. Larry Elder didn't charge me. I've had plenty of Trump surrogates on this show before. They've never asked me for money. But Kash Patel, who's already allegedly getting paid $15,000 a month just to be a surrogate for Donald Trump, wants to charge $2,000 for a 15-minute interview. No, thank you. If I wanted a salad, a word salad, I would just go down the street and get a salad at McDonald's for $2. I don't know. Do they still sell McDonald's salads there? I don't even know if they do. But anyway, I digress. So this whole idea that somehow Kamala Harris is stealing another one of Donald Trump's policies and she's flip-flopping is a lie. Kamala Harris has never said she wants to build a wall. Mexico is going to pay for it. She's never said she wants to not tax everybody who gets tips. There are totally different specifics in her policy compared to Donald Trump. So again, the right, all they do is lie. They want to talk about an alleged affair she had when, by the way, it wasn't even an affair. Apparently, Willie Brown had already been single at that time. Her dating life when she's a happily married woman, a loving mother, a loving wife, a beautiful family, the attacks on Tim Walz. And by the way, actor Jeremy London is rescheduled for tomorrow. His video went viral. The actor from Mallrats and other plenty of movies that he's been in and directed. He's going to join us on the show tomorrow. He has a grandson that has special needs. We're going to talk about that. The attacks on the far right with Tim Walz's son. The attacks on Kamala Harris, the sexual innuendos. You're not going to believe what Jesse Waters said on Fox News yesterday. Even Judge Jeanine had a problem with it. Adam Mockler's going to join us on the show tomorrow to talk about that from Midas Touch. These are the attacks from the far right. Folks, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I believe, I could be wrong, this is my opinion, I believe Harris is going to be the first female president. And if you ask me why, obviously it's got a lot to do with Trump's behavior, the things he says, the things he does. But it's also going to be because so many people on the far right are attacking her for the most childish insults and despicable insults, sexual innuendos, fellatio jokes. They're attacking her on her skin color, misogynistic comments. It ain't going to work. And you're not going to get moderate Republicans to be voting for Donald Trump. And we saw plenty of them on the stage at the DNC, the Jeff Duncans of the world, the Stephanie Grishams of the world, and more. The Navarros of the world, they are supporting, not just not voting for Donald Trump, they are supporting Kamala Harris, Republicans for Harris. Do you see a big contingency of people, liberals for Donald Trump? I'd love to talk to them. There might be a few out there. And then there's RFK Jr. Ah, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the man who did this show just about, 7 or 8 weeks ago. RFK Jr. did this show. And The View played parts of that interview. There's a lot I want to get to when it comes to RFK Jr. and all the attacks on the far right. They've been going after him for a while now. They've called him a communist. I'm going to play that stuff for you. And it goes to show you the double standard and the hypocrisy when it comes to the far right. But I want to play this clip for you first because I find it mesmerizing. This was RFK Jr. who appeared on this program, Pushing the Limits. And RFK Jr. admitted to committing a felony. No, I'm not talking about killing a bear and then staging the murder. We'll talk about that a little later. I don't know if that's a felony or not, but no, we'll leave that aside for a moment. RFK Jr. admitted on this show to giving his kids fake vaccine cards. Yeah, that's right. I'm not making this up. Have a listen to this. This is RFK Jr. on this show in his own words. Your kids did receive the vaccinations, correct?
Some of my, you mean on COVID? My kids are fully vaccinated with their child vaccines.
Okay. So if you didn't, so I think it's a fair question.
On COVID, a couple of my kids, I'd say half of my kids took it and half of them didn't. I got 7 kids.
Understood. So your position is you think the vaccinations, the COVID vaccines are unproven to be safe. So if that was the case, why did you allow some of your kids to take them?
Well, if you remember at that time, there was tremendous pressure to take them. You couldn't attend college if you didn't take them.
But they could have been homeschooled, right? You could have brought them to private school. You didn't do that. That's my question to you.
Listen, I have adult kids. I don't know how old your kids are.
I don't have any.
Right. Okay. Well, believe me, your ability to influence your kids after a certain age basically approaches zero. Oh, and I raised my kids to disagree with me, to challenge me, but also to tell the truth. Oh, I offered my kids vaccine cards and said, I don't want you to take this product because I had read the clinical trial data.
Yeah.
And they said, no.
Tell the truth. I raised my kids to tell the truth. First of all, you just admitted to a felony in just about every state in this country. If you provide fake vaccination cards, it can be considered a felony. He just admitted that. Yet his own kids, at least half of them by his own admission, maybe more, were vaccinated. This comes to an issue of credibility, which RFK Jr. has none. And I knew something was strange when he did my show. And he made the case on national television and on this show that he felt that Joe Biden at the time when he was still running for re-election was more of a threat to our democracy than Donald Trump. I found that very strange. And I said to myself, something's going on here because this doesn't seem right. Have a listen to this. I want to talk to you a little bit about an interview you did where you had made the case that Joe Biden perhaps is a bigger threat to our democracy than Donald Trump. And you know what took place on January 6th. You know Donald Trump has talked about ripping up parts of the Constitution. He still lies, by the way, as you know, about the 2020 election. I know you have issues with Joe Biden as well about censorship. I've heard you talk about that. But do you still believe that? Can you understand why some people that raise some eyebrows? Because a lot of people like myself feel Donald Trump is far more of a threat to our democracy than any Democrat in office today.
Yeah, I didn't say who's a greater threat to democracy between President Trump and President Biden. I wish those weren't the choices. What I said is that I could make that argument. And if you want to hear me make that argument, I will.
I don't. I heard it once. I've heard it twice. It's absurd. And then he goes into this nonsense about censorship. And then I questioned him on that because I said, well, wait a second. These social media companies are private entities. If they don't want you on their platform, they have the right to say, get off the platform. There's no direct evidence that Joe Biden tried to censor RFK Jr., but should we be surprised that the conspiracy theorist himself thinks that Joe Biden is more of a threat to us than Donald Trump? Forget about January 6th. Forget about the 34 felonies. Forget about all the women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape. Forget about the fact that he's a liable sexual abuser who wants to rip up parts of the Constitution and still doesn't admit that he lost the 2020 election. Let's put all that off to the side. I can make the argument that Joe Biden is a bigger threat to our democracy because I was censored on Twitter. I mean, it's the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life, okay? This guy's crazy. And then it was only 1 month ago that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that J.D. Vance was owned by the CIA and military-industrial complex. I'm not making this up. This is RFK Jr. just a month ago in his own words.
And his pick as vice president is a salute to the CIA and to the intelligence community and to the military-industrial complex. And their gravy train is going to continue.
It's just absolutely and positively ridiculous. Now, if you want to go into the Trump surrogates. Let's go into that. Again, this is all in the last several months. Caroline Leavitt did this show before. She is one of Trump's surrogates. This was just a couple months ago where she does a national TV interview, and she's Trump's official spokesperson, and she called RFK Jr. a communist. Listen to this.
RFK Jr. supports a national federal smart grid that would control how long we can keep the lights on in our homes, how long we can keep the water on. That is communism, not capitalism. President Trump opposes that, and I think the American people do.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys don't oppose it now because you could just flip a switch. And all of a sudden, RFK Jr. is a patriot. Well, he was a communist 2 months ago, but now he supports Donald Trump, so he's a patriot. It's just like the Vance stuff. Well, this guy's the next American Adolf Hitler, but since he picked me as his vice president, I think he was a great president, and I support him 100%. These people are all crazy. They're phony. All these people are phony, including Dad Bod himself, Sean Hannity. Yes, that blob on Fox News. Just last month, listen to what he said about RFK Jr. Listen to this.
RFK Jr. Now, this is the same guy that wants to eliminate all drilling, all fracking. He endorsed Bernie Sanders' climate plan called he called the NRA a, quote, terrorist group. He wants to transform police. He's praised the radical, rabid anti-Semite and racist Louis Farrakhan. He endorsed, Al Gore, John Kerry, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and claimed the 2004 election was stolen. Worst of all, he actually blamed America for Osama bin Laden's terror attacks on a radio show he co-hosted in 2014.
But today, he's a patriot. If you watch Sean Hannity this week, nothing but praise for RFK Jr. This was Sean Hannity, again, just a few months ago, basically calling RFK Jr. a monster. Listen to this.
No, I wouldn't leave it to the states.
Wouldn't, right.
No, I would.
He would say completely, it's up to the woman.
My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved.
Even if it's full term.
Even if it's full term.
Even a full-term abortion. Apparently, this was a surprise to his running mate, far-left attorney Nicole Shanahan.
Yeah. So they're doing segments now about RFK Jr. and abortion, painting him out to be a monster. Don Jr., as I call him, Biff, he just went crazy on his show. I shouldn't even call it a show. It's a basement rumble podcast. Listen to him going after RFK Jr. Now, listen, today he calls him a patriot, and, they'd give him the Medal of Freedom if they could. But this was Biff, also known as Donald Trump Jr., attacking RFK Jr. just a few months ago.
When it counted, RFK Jr. was America last. He's been that way for a very long time. But now we can change our entire policy. It's almost like it's yet another psyop, folks. I'm shocked. Shocked to see this. He started magically appearing in my social media feeds from people I don't follow about, a year ago, and it was all conservative stuff. And yet, if you actually look into the record, and let's just remember, he's an actual Kennedy, it's not like they haven't been political for a long time. It's not like he didn't talk on these subjects. You don't change your entire worldview in a matter of a few weeks.
You don't change your worldview in a matter of a few weeks. But the second he endorses my father, I change my views and he's a patriot. It stops on a dime. Why does he sound like Jerry Seinfeld, by the way? They call this guy a communist. I think RFK Jr. is a communist. My girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle would agree with me. He's a communist and I hope they throw him in jail. But since he's just started endorsing my dad, he's a patriot. And he's a fugitive. What is it? What is it that Donald Trump talked about? These January 6th insurrectionists, right? They're patriots and they're prisoners. It just, it's amazing how they just flip just like that. It's amazing, including Stephen Miller. Listen to what Stephen Miller said about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Again, just a few months ago.
His climate extremism is well documented and well known. He would shut down all fossil fuels. He would abolish drilling. And he would put significant taxes on carbon emissions that would crush the economy.
I think that was Sebastian Gorka in the background. Somebody, two more Looney Tunes that would be in Donald Trump's administration if he wins in November. So I've played Stephen Miller. I've played Junior, also known as Biff. I've played Sean Hannity. I want to go back to Caroline Leavitt. Again, Donald Trump's official campaign spokesperson, calling Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a radical leftist. Have a listen to this.
RFK Jr. is a radical leftist. He campaigned for Obama and Hillary in the past election cycles. He supports a 70% income tax on the American people. His energy agenda is more on brand with communist China than the United States of America. He's a radical leftist.
He's a radical leftist until he supports Donald Trump. Then he's a patriot. I mean, none of these people have any credibility. Zero. Just like J.D. Vance, who says Donald Trump is the next American Adolf Hitler. His words, not mine. But then all of a sudden, when he gets that phone call that, hey, I want you to be my vice president. Oh, you're my hero. You're Superman. None of these people have any credibility. The last person I'll name, speaking of no credibility, a man who doesn't even pay his own child support, another Trump campaign spokesperson that will be in Trump's administration if he wins in November, which I hope he doesn't, is Jason Miller, who makes the case that the reason why the stock market has been breaking records for almost a year now, wait for it, the reason why this is happening is because of the RFK Jr. endorsement. Folks, I'm not making this stuff. Have a listen to Jason Miller in his own words.
Well, on that point, and you have every right to say that she was part of this administration whose record you criticize, and obviously some of it is unpopular. Don't they also get credit for things that are positive? For example, the record-breaking stock market, the Dow breaking 41,000 on Friday.
Well, that's simply because businesses think that President Trump is going to come back in, so they're energized. A big part of that RFK and Jr. endorsement that we had on Friday, which is huge. When you look at the numbers state by state, some of the states could be upwards of 13,000 to 20,000 votes. Other states, the RFK Jr. endorsement could boost by as much as 40 or even 50,000 votes. When you think about how close the margins are in this campaign, that endorsement alone could put President Trump over the top.
Yeah, there you go. So when the market is down, it's all Joe Biden and his administration. It's all his fault when the market is down. When the market is way up, and by the way, it's been consistently very good over the course of the past year or so. You can look at the statistics if you don't believe me. The market's good over the last week or so. And Jason Miller, again, the guy who doesn't pay his own child support, is claiming the reason why the market is good is because RFK Jr. just endorsed Donald Trump. Folks, this is insanity. So what do we have here? We have basically everybody that's close to Donald Trump, including Donald Trump himself, by the way, who's made some very disparaging comments about RFK Jr. And I'm not defending RFK Jr., right? I think he's a two-faced phony. I'll get to that. But you have basically all of Donald Trump's surrogates who have made the rounds on Fox News and OAN and Newsmax calling RFK Jr. a communist. I'm laughing because this is so ridiculous. You've got Stephen Miller calling him a climate extremist who would be terrible for the country. You've got Sean Hannity, who has dedicated actual full segments on his show attacking RFK Jr., calling him a monster. And then since the endorsement on Friday, it's like you just flip a switch. You flip a switch. Oh, he's a patriot. What a great man. How good of him to be on the right side of history. We support RFK Jr. He's a hero. He's a patriot. Can anybody take any of the audio that I just played, take any of those people seriously with any ounce of credibility at all? I don't. The only reason why, let's start with Donald Trump, and then I'll take a break, and then we'll take some phone calls on the other side at 702-221-7283. Make no mistake about it. I believe, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I believe the stuff that these MAGA buffoons were saying about RFK Jr., I believe they're being honest. This is how they feel about RFK Jr. I actually believe when Donald Trump in the past has spoken about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's been honest. So why did Trump pick up the phone last month? Why did he say, hey, I want you to drop out of the race. I want you to be in my cabinet? Because he's just a really nice guy? No, of course not. Because he knows RFK Jr. out of the race and RFK Jr. endorsing Donald Trump is good for Donald Trump. That's why. It's only good for Trump, and that's why he's doing this. So now all the surrogates, the Sean Hannitys of the world, those on the far right, the only reason why they are now on board with RFK Jr. is because they know it's good for Donald Trump. Now, how good it is for him, I don't know. That's the only reason. On the flip side of things, RFK Jr., we know he reached out to the Harris campaign. We know that he wanted a cabinet position. He could deny it until the cows come home. We know he wanted a cabinet position and it was a quid pro quo. We know that. when they basically said, F you, we're not taking the call, which, by the way, I believe was the right thing to do now, he crawled back to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump accepted the quid pro quo. I'll endorse Donald Trump because I want a cabinet position, because RFK Jr. knew from the beginning he had no chance becoming the president of the United States, and he will never have a legitimate chance to win. So he, all along, just wanted a cabinet position, wanted to remain relevant. That's it. It's very simple, folks. This isn't hard. Donald Trump is offering RFK Jr. a cabinet spot because he knew that this would help his campaign and it would get him votes, because all he cares about is becoming president again. RFK Jr. wanted to remain relevant and wanted a cabinet position, and he didn't care whether it was from somebody on the left or somebody on the right. All he cared about was himself. Donald Trump, all he cares about is himself. So I'm sure these two will get along just fine, because they're both very selfish people. And they're both very phony people. Let's call a spade a spade. RFK Jr. is a phony. He only cares about himself. He knows who Donald Trump is. He's been on the record and called Donald Trump an awful human being. You can look this up if you don't believe me. That's who these people are that align themselves with Donald Trump. You have the RFK Juniors that call Trump an awful human being. You have the J.D. Vances who compare him to Adolf Hitler, but as long as they get to work for him, and if it's good for them and it gets them in a powerful position, they're totally okay working for an Adolf Hitler. They're totally okay working for an awful human being. Quote, that's from RFK Jr. What decent, reasonable human being with any moral compass at all would be willing to work for somebody that you think is the next American Adolf Hitler? What reasonable person with a moral compass would work for somebody who they consider an awful human being? You don't have much of a moral compass unless you're somebody getting ends meet, making $20,000 a year. You can't find another job. Your boss is a horrible human being, but you don't have any other choice. RFK Jr. has choices, right? There's a lot of things he can do. He's a man with a lot of money. There's a lot of things he can do with his life. He doesn't have to work for Donald Trump. When you don't have a moral compass and you put yourself before the American people, that is not what Kamala Harris is doing. She is putting the American people first. By the way, all these Republicans, and there's plenty of them, they are putting America first. And while I don't want to give any credit to Mike Pence, because I think he's a stiff, at least he's not supporting Donald Trump. At least he's not supporting Donald Trump. Here's what we're going to do. I want to hear from you, my MAGA friends, those who agree, those who disagree. We got Chris Wynn that's going to be jumping in studio next, but I want to take some phone calls on the other side. We've been through a lot here. We've played a lot of audio. I gave you my Kash Patel story, wanted to charge me $2,000 for an interview, which is absurd. I wouldn't pay him $2 for an interview. Maybe $2. Maybe I'd pay $2. Kamala Harris, they're saying she's flipped on the border wall, which is a blatant lie. That's not true. And we will take your phone calls now. For those of you out there that disagree with me, here's your chance to call in. I'll open up the phone lines now. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I also invite all of you to check out my new website. I get emails from people every day. Hey, how can I get more involved in the show? I love what you do, and I appreciate all of you. Here's what you can do to help us. First of all, check out my new website. It's free, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. Sign up for my free newsletter. Look around. We're very happy with the website. We also sell some merch on there. All sorts of different merchandise on there that we sell, from mugs to beanies to shirts. If you don't want to buy any merchandise, on the front page of pushingthelimits.live, there's also a donate button. We are an independently owned radio show, so we appreciate anything and everything. Doesn't matter what it is, $50 a month, $20 a month, $5 a month, whatever you can afford, we appreciate it a great deal. So check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. And we appreciate your support. And if you donate, you will hear from me personally as a thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Your phone calls on the other side, as I mentioned, 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. We'll take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert?
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very sunny Tuesday in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, thank you to the official gaming bar of the Pushing the Limits radio show. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Good promotions this month, including if anybody hits a taxable jackpot, anybody who's playing actively will win $20 in free slot play. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Check them out and tell them that I sent you. Gave my Kash Patel story, wanted to charge me two grand for a 15-minute interview. I told him to go F himself. The lies, again, on the attacks on Kamala Harris, it's just insane. Now they're saying she's flip-flopping on the border bill. Mexico's going to pay for it. That's also a lie. That was in the border bill that was negotiated between Democrats and Republicans, the most comprehensive border bill it would have been in my lifetime. And yes, Donald Trump told Republican senators to shoot it down, for lack of a better term. We have one phone line open. It's 702-221-7283. Now we have no phone lines open, but the phone lines are clogged. Before we get to the calls, it's been a little while since he joined us in studio. Of course, I'm talking about the residential liberal of the Pushing the Limits radio show, Chris Wynn, joining us right now. Chris, thanks for being here. What's up, man?
It's going good, Brian. Good to join you. Cut 2 G's, to make a little appearance on PTL. Mr. Shapiro Numchuck. I'll be waiting for that check in the mail, my friends. For a guy like Kash Patel, give me a break. You got C Win, the resident
You're
liberal
not
here.
me. Maybe lunch.
Two G's, bro. That'd be money much more well spent. For Chris Wynn live in studio. So let's go.
Maybe I'll buy you some fries at McDonald's. Yeah. That's about it. I don't know. 2,000 is a little bit too much for me. That's too much money. But anyway, thanks for being here, Chris.
Yeah.
We got a lot to go over today, before we quickly get to the calls. So I woke up this morning and I talked about this in the first segment where people on the far right are claiming that Kamala Harris flip-flopped and she wants to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. It's such an easy lie if you look it up. Here's what they're doing, Chris. The border bill, as you know, Democrats and MAGA Republicans came to the bargaining table.
Bipartisan.
Right. They compromised. You give them give and take, right? It's like a relationship, give and take in a relationship. So Harris and some of the Democrats agreed to some of the demands of the Republicans, which was put more money towards building a wall. But in return, we're going to have more security at the wall. And they put other things in there. And somehow Republicans are turning that into she flip-flopped. Chris, it's a blatant lie. She doesn't want to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it, but yet Republicans are lying about it.
Okay, so first of all, build the wall and Mexicans are going to pay for it is not something that was part of this bipartisan bill that was in Congress. Second of all, it's not like Kamala Harris was someone who was, the point person for this entire bill and everything. So this misrepresentation of her, because people have been using the phrase the border czar, which is completely false. All right. She was never the border czar. She was someone, to my understanding, essentially was going to be dealing with diplomacy, right? With some of the northern nations of South America and beyond. That's really what her role was. But Republicans, of course, wanted to misrepresent it, act like she was the one that was the end all be all running the whole thing.
Right.
When it comes to the immigration situation at the border. A lot of us call it crisis, and that's fine, right? Something that's been around for decades. But this idea that it's somehow characterized as wanting to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it is completely absurd. And again, this is another classic case of people trying to frame something or mischaracterize a situation in a way that it's not in reality. And that's what I'll leave it at that.
I mean, it's completely absurd. The comments on Tim Walz's son, derogatory comments, who's a special needs teenager. That's why we're having actor Jeremy London join us on the show tomorrow. He has a special needs grandson. His video went viral. It's why tomorrow we also have Adam Mockler on the show, who was at the DNC convention, and he interviewed some of the morons like Mike Lindell and others. So I can't wait to catch up with them. The attacks on Harris are just disgusting. You have Jesse Waters yesterday making a sexual innuendo that some of the generals will, quote, have their way with Kamala. I mean, it's so disgusting. Even Judge Deneen thought it was inappropriate, and she said something yesterday. That's what they have to go on. The misogynistic comments And the sexual innuendos, they're just despicable. I hope they keep doing it because it makes them look bad and they're losing votes by doing so.
Well, I'll chime in, though, too, Brian. Also, this discussion that you had with Carmine Sabia yesterday talking about the situation with Kamala Harris and Willie Brown back in the 1980s and and acting and even someone like Carmine, right, who was a MAGA guy, right, couldn't even let it come out of his lips that it was inappropriate and derogatory and just factually inaccurate that in some way, shape, or form, Kamala Harris, the only reason she has reached the levels that she's reached, right, particularly from a political standpoint, the woman, has done unbelievable things in the politics world as far as getting elected as an elected official, is just because she allegedly hooked up with Willie Brown back in the 80s or 90s.
It's absurd.
And that's the entire reason.
But Chris,
but he couldn't even, it's a microcosm of the entire
but
MAGA
Chris, let's
movement.
Remember, I agree.
They can't stay away from this stuff. And it's gonna that, among other things, is what's going to cost them the election in 2024.
It very well may, and this could be one of the reasons.
Well, yes, it very well may.
If they lose, I think it'll be a lot of different reasons, but that could be one of them. But
that's what I said.
Let's also remember, this is important
That's what
too.
I said. Yeah.
This is one half of it, what you just said, but it's not just the sexual innuendo comments and the misogynistic comments and attacking a race and all that. Even if she did have an affair, and by the way, apparently Willie Brown was single. This was 10 years after he filed.
So it's not an affair.
But hold on.
It's just a relationship.
I know. Let me just
with
finish.
a guy.
I know.
Who cares?
I know. Let me just finish my statement.
Yeah.
Even worst case scenario, if it was an affair, which by the way, there's no evidence that it was, but even if it was an affair 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you're defending the guy who has over 25 women that have accused him
of
sexual assault. Hold on.
They support him.
25 women, sexual assault or rape. He is a proven liable sexual abuser in a courtroom, in a contractual marriage with Melania Trump right now, who even in his own right years ago said he hasn't been in the same bed with her in decades. This is the guy who brags about sexual assault, but yet you want to defend him and vote for him. And allegedly Harris had some sort of relationship, whether inappropriate or not, and there's no evidence to prove it was inappropriate. You guys have zero credibility. Let's get to the phone calls, Chris, at 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Thomas. Thomas is first up on PTL. What's going on, Thomas?
Hi. I just wanted to comment on how you said that the no tax on tips policy was not actually stolen from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you neglected to mention that Kamala, or actually the Biden administration, which by extension Kamala is a part of, was in fact enforcing, there was a bill with the IRS where they were enforcing further crackdowns on taxes on tips. So if this is an original...
I gotta wait. Hey, caller. Okay, let me stop you right now. I'm so glad you brought this topic up because I wanted to talk to Brian when I came on this show today. I'm someone who's worked in the service industry for over 30 years on and off in multiple parts of the country. I'm well versed on this actual topic and the reality of the situation and whether or not it can be implemented. Let me be very clear to you, caller, and to Brian and to everybody out there, because Brian and Carmine yesterday, this is another topic in which they went around the edges a little bit. Brian actually brought some factual statements up with respect to adult entertainers, how much they make and all this, but no one has really addressed this. Can we please stop talking about this? It's never going to happen, all right? And there are multiple reasons why. Number one, the United States government, the IRS, treats tips as income because they are. There are millions of Americans out there, regardless of what city you live in, state you live in, around the country, millions of people that make a majority of their money off of tokes, tips, and gratuities. They make more money off of that money than they do off of their paychecks. So can we please stop with this nonsense? And by the way, Donald Trump said it in Vegas. It was off the cuff because he was just catering to the crowd, okay? And Kamala Harris, well, no, I'm going to finish, Brian, because this is very important. You need to hear this too, all right? Kamala Harris picked up on it, and she was wrong, too, to bring this up. I mean, you're laughing, but I'm being dead serious.
No, I know. You're just a little loud, that's all.
I am very loud because this is something that directly affects me as someone who's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in tips over my lifetime.
Go ahead. Continue.
Okay, so for all of you out there that are not familiar with the service industry and how it works, all right, and for some of you that are in the service industry that just want to act like and stick your head in the sand and act like you don't know the reality, all right, there are millions of people around the world. I mean, excuse me, around the world too, but especially in this country,
yes,
that make more money in tips than they make as far as their paycheck. So the idea that the IRS, Uncle Sam, the United States government is going to give up billions of dollars of tax revenue is so absurd and ridiculous. You people are not being.
All right, let's let Thomas respond.
Thomas, you're not in reality.
Let's let
You're
Thomas
even talking about this thing going on. It's stupid.
I agree that I don't think it's going to happen either. Let's go to Thomas and let's let Thomas respond to it. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm saying that when Kamala was, when she came out and said the no tax on tips, and the Republicans are saying that this is directly stolen from Trump, well, the Biden administration was against, they were further cracking down on the taxes on tips.
There's no cracking down. No, that's not true, sir.
Okay,
Thomas, it's not true,
Mhm.
okay? There's never been any scenario in which the IRS or the government has either taken a position or implemented anything that you're not going to get taxed on tips. Back in the early 80s and before, there's some parts of the country, Vegas happens to be one of them, where people were able to slide when it comes to taxes on their tips, right, and their toques.
Okay.
But there's been never. But what he's saying is wrong.
Okay,
there's
let me
never
just
been
respond.
any policy.
I understand
with
what you're
respect to
saying.
the IRS.
I know.
When it comes to gratuities.
I
and
understand.
tips.
I understand what you're saying. I agree. I just want to respond to
Well,
Thomas.
yeah, agree
So,
then,
Thomas,
yeah.
even if you would say, it's a flip-flop, which I don't think it is, even if that was the case, do you have a problem with a politician changing a position if you think it's the right position or the right decision? Because I don't understand. I think wouldn't that be a good thing if you agree with Harris? I want to ask you about that.
No, it wouldn't. It's not impossible for a politician to change their opinions at all.
So what's the problem
it's just
then?
That how do we know that she really believes that?
Okay, so let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, sir. Let's have a conversation here. Are you a Donald Trump supporter? And there's a reason why I'm asking.
Of course.
Okay, so you are.
Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When Donald Trump back in 2015 ran on two policies, if you recall, he said he was going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton, and he also ran on, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. 16% of the wall was built, Mexico didn't pay $1, and he never went after Hillary Clinton. Why would you vote for that guy who ran on two policies that he did not fulfill? If that's your problem with Harris, why would you support Trump?
As far as the special prosecutor situation, I can't really comment on it because I was like 15 at the time.
It doesn't matter whether you were 15.
15, you can't have a cogent thought or have an opinion at 15 years old.
Hold on, Thomas. How old are you right now?
23.
Okay, fair enough. Thomas, back in 2015, Trump said he was going to hire a special prosecutor to convict Hillary Clinton and indict her. He said it at every campaign rally. I'm not making it up. Your thoughts on that?
There's not an inconsistency if Donald Trump or the MAGA Republicans, as you call them, believe that Hillary Clinton is actually guilty.
It's not what you believe. It's that you have to have evidence to prove it in a court of law, which he never had. She testified under oath. The Benghazi, 8 hearings put forth by Republicans. The FBI interviewed her. There was no evidence that she committed any crime, at least not enough evidence to convict her, yet he campaigned off of that, and he was going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. Listen, Thomas, I know that not every politician can fulfill all their promises. I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. I understand that. But when you want to nitpick something when it comes to Kamala Harris and you support Donald Trump, I just get confused on that. Does it bother you at all that he's a 34-count felon, or does that not mean anything to you either?
Have you looked at the case law on that? Have you actually read through the case?
Are you an attorney? Do you practice law?
Are you?
No, I'm not an attorney, and I don't practice law.
That's a bad answer, though, by the way, too. Yeah,
So,
it doesn't answer the question.
So what you're saying is but
Brian's not an attorney.
No. So all those what about all those other indictments that he is facing? And let's forget about the criminality of it. What about the behavior? Do you condone that?
What behavior?
Well,
behavior are
let's
you
start
referencing?
here. Where do I start with the behavior? I'm so glad you asked that question. What about when he talked about John McCain and he said, I don't respect John McCain. I respect people who were not captured. What do you think about a statement like that?
It's not a deal breaker for me.
Okay, well, I didn't ask you if it was a deal breaker for you. I asked you what you think about the statement.
That's his opinion, and
That's his
really
opinion.
don't care
Okay, so
either
you
way.
can crap on anybody that served this country, and if they were a POW, if they say, I don't respect you because you were captured, your response to that is, well, that's just their opinion. Okay, what about sleeping with a porn star 2 weeks after his wife had Barron? What do you think about that? Is that just his opinion?
Doesn't
or
he deny that?
What's that?
Doesn't he deny that?
Then why did he pay her $130,000? Please answer that question, sir.
Why did he pay $130,000 and not millions? You ever thought about that?
Is that a serious question that you just asked me? Okay, we'll move on. What do you think about? What do you?
Brian,
Hold on.
The word
Hold
comes
on.
ahead.
Hold on.
It's hypocrisy.
No, what I'm implying-
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
You say it fit 17
Hold on a
times on
second.
the show.
So Thomas, hold on a second. So Thomas, what about January 6th? And to this day, he still doesn't admit that he lost the 2020 election, and he says the election was stolen. What's your excuse to that one?
Even at the most lenient and the easiest way to argue that is, at the very least, if it wasn't stolen with complete, with actual ballots, he can still argue that it was stolen with media
You can't argue
manipulation.
with that actual facts. There's been no evidence to prove that there was enough election fraud to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. That's not an argument. He had 61
No, there
chances
is
in a
no
courtroom
evidence.
to prove.
It's
Okay,
extremely highly suspicious.
okay, well, highly suspicious. You actually have to have real evidence to prove.
Yeah.
He was unable to do that. So again, the same question. He's already
Yeah, but
said.
why-
He's already
why
said
can't he
that if
make
he
that
loses,
claim?
he's already said that if he loses in November, he's not going to admit that he lost the election. You don't have a problem with that either, sir?
Hillary Clinton barely ever conceded.
Wrong.
was
She didn't.
complaining about
Wrong.
it
You're
for a
again.
year
You're wrong.
afterwards.
Now, even though the question.
BS.
So,
More
so
BS.
hold on. Even
More
though.
no, it's not. Hold on. More
Even
BS.
though. Even though the
More
question.
BS.
Even
Yeah.
though the question wasn't about Hillary Clinton, because you see, sir, that's called,
And it's a lie.
what
you
about
just
is
said.
but
It's a
maybe
lie.
you were 15 years old. That's your excuse.
Yeah.
So let me remind you, because you might have been 15 years old. By the way, when I was 15 years old, I can still call out right from wrong when I was 15.
Yeah.
You see, Hillary conceded the following day. It wasn't a sort of concede. She conceded. She called Donald Trump and she said, congratulations. Why would you say she sort of conceded?
Do you have any respect for any election
Why
integrity?
don't
so he doesn't
Because
answer
most
questions.
Democrats
Answer.
do
Hold
not.
on.
He doesn't answer a
Hold on,
question.
Chris. I'm going to ask you the question again, Thomas, because you're not answering, sir.
Mhm.
She called
Hillary
up
Clinton could have made.
Thomas.
Hillary
I need you to
Clinton could have
listen.
made-
You're not answering
Mhm.
because you're talking. Thomas, she picked up the phone that night. She congratulated Donald Trump and she conceded. How is that sort of conceding? Please answer the question directly, sir.
She was complaining about it for a full
She
year.
was
afterwards.
never complaining about the
So, yeah,
election. She said he was an illegitimate.
arguably-
Excuse me. She never complained about the election. She said it was he was an illegitimate president because of his behavior. So I want to ask you one more question, sir, because we're really not getting anywhere. Okay, but I want to ask you one more question. Forget about the criminality. What do you make of his behavior in going after POWs, going after women on looks, not conceding an election, the election denying? What do you make about defying a subpoena for a year? Forget about even if you think he's guilty or not. What do you make of Donald Trump's behavior? And that has nothing to do with policy, and it has nothing to do with possible criminality. I just want to know what you make of his behavior in going after a woman on looks and turning a coronavirus press conference into a political rally. What do you make of his behavior? I want to ask you, sir. Go ahead.
I actually like his behavior.
Okay, well, have a nice
Actually
day.
think-
You're obviously a MAGA deplorable, but I appreciate your call. This man likes the behavior of somebody who attacks women on looks. He likes the behavior of somebody who defends the Confederate flag. He likes the behavior of somebody who will not concede an election. He likes the behavior of somebody that's a 34-count felon and a liable sexual abuser. Thank you for the call, Thomas. We appreciate it. And when Donald Trump said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me, they were talking about Thomas.
That's a phone call right there that makes the case that you don't have to take every phone call, Brian, on your show. That is an absolute perfect case of, and then it's just, I mean, you just end up harping over and over and again about the same things and pointing out the very clear fact. And I've said this, multiple times on your show, whether I hosted it with you or hosted it for you. You've said it about 17,000 times on your show. The word hypocrisy just keeps popping up left and right when you're dealing with these MAGA people and these people who are Republicans. Does it pop up when you're dealing with Democrats at times? Absolutely, it does.
702.
Right? But the hypocrisy is just so beyond the pale, and it's just, Brian, it's just tiring at this point. It just gets tiring.
But you know what? When he
and you continuously keep pointing out, and then this entire approach that you end up having to take, where you ask somebody a question. And instead of answering the question, what do? They just start asking you questions or making statements about something that may be related or might not be related.
I just want to say
it's just so tedious and ridiculous.
It is. And I just want to say
it is. Yes,
for
it is.
somebody to say that they like Donald Trump's behavior says a lot about who you are as a human being. Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie is next up on PTL. Hello, Eddie.
Hello, what lies you guys telling today?
Okay, so let's
good take.
Hold on.
Good take. What are you talking about? Hold on. I'm responding to his idiot statement right out of the gate.
I know.
What lies are you pertaining to, sir? Eddie, talk to us.
Okay, so Eddie, give me a specific Eddie, give me a specific lie that I've said on this show, please, sir.
Yesterday, you went on a rant how Donald Trump wants the mics live for the debate, and it's actually Harris that wants the mics live.
Okay, so what took place yesterday when it came to the mic situation? It's very, very clear, and it's very, very simple that Kamala Harris has made it clear that she wants to change some of the rules that were already in place because she is a different candidate. Now, in the Joe Biden-Donald Trump situation, which I confused, Joe Biden wanted the microphone, and his people wanted the microphones to be turned off. This is a situation where I actually disagree with Kamala Harris, and I think the debate would be better if microphones were turned off. So I actually disagree. I was wrong, and I confused. Excuse me, sir. I'm clarifying, so shut up. Okay? I'm clarifying. This is something that you will never admit and something that Donald Trump will never admit. Have a listen. I'll teach you a lesson, sir. I got confused, and I was wrong. It wasn't an intentional lie. I got confused with the Joe Biden-Trump debate because Joe Biden wanted the mics turned off, which they were. And I got confused, and I was wrong. So that's not an intentional lie like saying Trump won the 2020 election. So now we can move on from that because I'm not a perfect man, and there's a difference between lying and making a mistake. Now, you said today we've been lying, and you included Chris in that.
Yes,
so, sir,
you did. You
give
didn't
me
include
a
me
lie.
because I'm here with you. Yes.
You said today, so I guess you just lied.
The lies that we're telling today.
That was yesterday. So I'll give you another opportunity, Eddie. Give me something where you think we're intentionally lying about something. Go ahead, sir. I'll give you another chance.
Today.
Yep.
That we were both lying about.
Yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah. There you go. It's crickets. It's crickets.
Oh,
it's crickets.
crickets.
It's crickets. Shocker.
Hey, Eddie.
What an absolute surprise that they're not able to come up with one.
Hold on. We probably gave him a chance to Google something.
We probably gave him.
Eddie, we've given you now 30 seconds. Can you give me another one, sir?
He's going to be able to Google us?
Eddie, we're still waiting.
Well, you keep saying the same lie every day.
So tell me what it is. What is the lie? Tell us. We're giving you an opportunity.
Well, shut your mouth.
Okay, so the lie is you don't shut your mouth.
Trump,
Eddie, I'm giving you another opportunity. I'm being very patient with you, and I'm being very kind here. You said today we're lying. So I'm asking you with all due respect, sir, for the last time, give me a lie that we said on the air today.
Actually, he actually asked the question, what are we lying about today? That's the exact
Eddie,
context.
I'm still waiting. Are you still there, sir?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said Trump does not respect John McCain because he was captured. That's a lie.
That's what he said. No, that's what
so
Donald
here's
Trump
the
said.
direct
That's
quote.
not what he said.
Here's the direct
exactly
quote.
What he said.
Okay, I need both people to. I'll give you the direct quote because I've memorized it. I tend to respect people that were not captured. That is the direct quote, Eddie. Eddie, are you still there?
Didn't he add on? I will have you know to at the end. No, yeah, no.
Eddie,
Brian,
that was the direct quote. And again, the MAGA deplorable hangs up the phone and he starts swearing. Thank you, Eddie, for the phone call. You said we lied today and you couldn't come up with a lie. Have a nice day, Eddie. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brent. Brent is next up on PTL. Hello, Brent.
Hey, Brian and Chris. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
I guess with the Kamala Harris thing, I don't know where this came from, but they're basically calling her a slut.
Yeah, some of them are. You're right. And it's horrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there any truth to this? I don't know what. She had an affair.
No,
okay.
absolutely no truth at all.
I mean,
first of all, I'll set the record straight for you because we did some research on this and it's pretty simple. Willie Brown, and it doesn't even matter, but Willie Brown was single. He had divorced his wife years in the past. So not only was it not an affair, this is pure misogyny. And it's pure
it's just,
hypocrisy.
Character assassination, basically.
Oh, it's terrible. And it's not true. She's a happily married woman. She's a happily married woman.
Children and stuff.
Of course. It's so.
People don't know what the definition of affair is, guys. All right? They don't understand the definition. If they're talking about this, that's not what it was. I can be just flat out on this, okay? I don't give a damn if she slept with 50 guys back in 1987. All right? It has no bearing on the situation in 2024 with respect to her political career, her achievements, or any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. Yes.
Well, I keep seeing this thing. She got to the White House on her knees, and I'm like, what?
Again,
like
those are people being. Hey, let me help you out.
That's
those are
terrible
people
shit
being
to say about
a-holes.
somebody.
They're being a-holes. Okay, that's what that is. You're just an a-hole, and you're just trying to minimize what Vice President Harris has been able to do in her career.
Yep.
You know, it's particularly in the last 20 to 25 years. That's all you are. You're just a jackass. Okay, if you're making
just trying to
comments
beat
like
her
that.
down. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, and Brian talked to Carmine
And
Sevilla
again,
yesterday about this, and Carmine taking a lot of the same roads that a lot of those people took. In that, it's kind of funny, and I wouldn't really say that myself, but I do get a chuckle, and I do,
So
they go down those roads.
Here's what I'll
So
say
here's what I'll
to
say.
end that. I will again go back to what I said before, and I think Harris supporters and Democrats need to do this a lot too. Let's keep in mind that Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser. The judge
He's an adjudicated rapist.
Yeah, the judge characterized it as rape in a clothing store, in a dressing room. He also has 25 women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in a deposition. Keep in mind, I don't think anybody's accused Kamala Harris of sexual abuse. I don't think Harris has ever been indicted on charges before or ever defied the
Not
subpoena.
once.
No. So I think it's a fine line there, my friend. And these attacks are despicable. And, it's a joke. Here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I love when I get my MAGA callers on because, they look like fools, but that's okay. Sometimes some MAGA callers can make some good points. Now and again, it's rare, but it can happen. It's when Angel Reese can make a layup. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. So what we will do is we will take some more phone calls on the other side. 702-221-7283. I know we have Carl, we have Mark, we have John on the line. We have one phone line open, 702-221-7283. MAGA supporter or not, feel free to call in. We got Chris Wynn in the house getting all fired up. We'll take a deep breath. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever Ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Workers have been hit hard over the past few years. From the pandemic to inflation, it has often felt like we can't get ahead. Too many of us are struggling to afford rent, food, and other basic necessities. We need leaders who know that our country depends on us, the workers. If we succeed, everyone else succeeds. Our choice is clear this November. We must elect leaders who support our crucial role in this country. And that is not Donald Trump. Paid for by Battleborn Progress.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, it's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. As I mentioned, programming note for you. Tomorrow on the show from Midas Touch, Adam Mockler is going to be joining us. He did some great reporting over there at the DNC convention. Also, actor Jeremy London, you know him from Mallrats and some other cult classics. He'll be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. Check out the website, please, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live, where you can sign up for the free newsletter, look around, links to my show, extra info, and sign up for the newsletter. We also sell merchandise on there, and if you don't want to buy merchandise, you can check the front page of the website where you can donate. And we appreciate anything that you're willing to do to support what we do on the show. We got Chris Wynn in studio. We've been talking about a number of different subjects, including the far-right attacks on Kamala Harris, the misogynistic statements, the comments. They go after Tim Walz's son, who's a special needs teenager. It's just, and the stolen valor stuff, too. You're somebody that served. It's just, when does it end?
Don't even get me started on that. I mean, it's just the stolen valor. It's not stolen valor. All right. The idea that we're denigrating the service of someone who served honorably for 24 years in the military is beyond despicable. And by the way, it's worse if people are doing it that never served. You don't have a dog in the fight. All right. Those of you who didn't serve, all right, with all due respect, you have, and you don't even deserve the respect, because you shouldn't even be chiming in. At least when people like, let me put it this way, Brian. All right. If people like J.D. Vance will have their takes, they can be completely wrong, right? Like I would say as a fellow veteran to J.D. Vance, I would point out to him and be extremely specific as to why he's wrong about his takes and about his views and what the facts are in the situation with Tim Walz and his service in the United States Army National Guard for 24 years, right? But at least, I'll give him this. He actually served. What infuriates myself and other veterans even more is people out there that want to chime in for
Charlie
the cheap
Kirks
seats.
of the world.
Yeah, that are a bunch of cowards and never signed on the dotted line and never served your country in any way, shape, or form. You can all go F yourselves, all right? And you're complete losers in every respect when it comes to this topic, and you have no say.
702
right? Period. Full stop.
702-221-7283, the number to call. And let's go to Leslie, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Leslie.
Hi there. How you doing this afternoon?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I wanted to bounce back a bit when we were talking about Kamala and the MAGA obsession, if you will, of sex and sexual acts and our genitalia. I want to remind people that while rape is perpetrated with a sexual act, sex is not the reason. Rape is an act of violence.
Sure.
And Donald Trump is violent from top to bottom.
I agree.
Let's keep that in mind.
I agree.
Let's not get all hung up on the sex.
Isn't it
violence,
interesting,
period.
Leslie, too, that when Republicans have nothing to go after Democrats, and so many of the times they don't, they'll call people like you and me, and I'm not even a Democrat, I'm an independent that leans to the left and is very anti-Donald Trump, and I make no apologies for it. They call
Me
us
as well.
pedophiles. They use homophobic slander, and they call us pedophiles and communists with no basis to back that up. When Donald Trump was 7 times, as you know, Chris, on the Jeffrey Epstein flight log. In fact, of all the jets he could have rented, he was on Jeffrey Epstein's jet 2 weeks ago.
But let's just
I
address
thought
this.
that would be the thing that brought him down is pedophilia. I was sure that was the thing that people would kick him out for.
You would think, right,
But
Leslie?
apparently, it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
I have nothing nice to
Well,
say.
Leslie, here's the
Sorry.
deal. Here's the deal, right, Leslie and Brian? Here's the deal. It's baked in, right? These people. When I say these people, I'm talking about MAGA, and I'm talking about Republicans that just want Republicans in office, right? So they can do the things they want done. All right. It's baked in. They accepted that Donald Trump is this way, and they just don't care. They don't care. They're going to vote for him anyway. That's why he got 78.
Why?
He got 78 million because the reason I just told
No,
you.
I mean, why are they so obsessed with our
Leslie,
sexual
I'll tell you
relations, period?
exactly why. I'll tell you exactly why. I've mentioned this numerous times on the show. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because if Donald Trump's in office, what happens, right? Conservative judges get appointed to the Supreme Court, right? Policies that Republicans want get implemented because Republicans are more powerful in Washington, D.C., both in the Senate and in the Congress, right? In the House of Representatives.
Well, I'll give you a better
because you
answer.
have a Republican president.
Well, I'll give
it's
you-
the only there are
I'll give you-
millions of Republicans that do not they're not like Trump. They don't believe they don't have the same worldview that Trump has, but they have
I'll
a worldview.
give you another answer.
That's similar.
My opinion, which is the attacks on the far right. I'm specifically now talking about the misogynistic comments, anti-gay comments, the homophobic slurs, the attacks on Harris for, quote, not being black. I'll give you the most simple answer I can. And I'm not saying all Republicans, and I'm not saying the majority of Republicans.
You're saying the deplorables.
But what I am saying,
Deplorables.
no, what I am saying is that the people who make these types of statements are bigots. They're homophobic, they're racist,
deplorable,
and they're bad people. Okay? Stand back and stand by when talking about the Proud Boys defending the Confederate flag. We know that Donald Trump's father got arrested at a Klan rally. That's all you need to know about the Trumps and Donald Trump.
No, but
702
Brian, just go back to what you're saying. Like, hey, we're having a discussion here. All right. What you just said, and you're correct, but it's not the entire Republican Party.
I didn't say
it
that.
is the MAGA people.
I just said
I'm
that.
just pointing that out. So
I
like
just
you're,
said that.
but you just
said that.
described a bunch of characteristics. I understand that, but I'm pointing that out. It's important to clarify. She's asking overall, like, why are all the Republicans? Why did Donald Trump get 78 million votes in 2020? Why? It's a fair question, and the answer is that the answer is a lot of answers, but in general, Republicans want to have Republicans in power so that they can implement their policies and their worldview. That's why. That's the answer.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. It's very simple. Donald Trump made bigots and racists more comfortable in their own skin, and we've been seeing it since he took office. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Cece, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Cece?
Hey, Brian, your favorite Chicago Italian right here.
What's up, Cece?
How are you?
I'm doing good, Cece. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
I just had to say something about that when the last caller, the man before the last caller, the lady, he said something about how they're talking about Kamala bending over and all that thing. What about Trump bending over to Putin and Kim Jong-un and whatever his name from China? He's been bending over how many years to all three of them?
Well, one of my biggest criticisms of Trump, and by the way, I think as Chris does too, we have a lot of them, but one of my biggest criticisms is writing love letters to Kim Jong-un, love letters to an evil, murderous dictator who kills members of his own family, Vladimir Putin.
It's insanity. It's insanity. Call it what it is, Brian. It's ridiculous beyond all belief.
Because he's a wannabe dictator.
An American politician that wants to own patriotism in America, right? That wants to act like, the American flag is a poster all over their body, is going to wax poetic about Vladimir Putin and Erdogan and Kim Jong-un and President Xi in China and on and on and on. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's a phrase that Shap uses on the show all the time, right? You can't make this stuff up. To the caller, you can't. Our favorite woman from Chicago, you can't make this stuff up. You know what I mean? You just can't. And
no.
Again, it's part of what I just said before to the last caller, is that it's baked in. Trump supporters don't care. They'll just blow it off, all right, and act like they didn't hear it, or that he didn't meant to say, or they'll say something like, "Well, he really meant to say this, or he really meant to say that, or this is what he was really thinking."
Well,
when in reality, we all heard what he said. We all know what he's thinking.
We have a MAGA
and we all know where he's coming
on
from.
social media. We have a MAGA that says, "Who cares about the love letters?" Well, let me tell you something. I care, and here's why. When you have an evil, murderous dictator, because that's exactly who Kim Jong-un is. We saw
Vladimir Putin.
We saw what he did to Otto Warmbier when he came back basically a vegetable, and Donald Trump bragged about that, by the way. And when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris brought back those prisoners, Donald Trump thanked Vladimir Putin. He didn't thank Joe Biden. He thanked another evil, murderous dictator. It matters what the leader of the free world says on a world stage. Donald Trump refuses to say anything negative about Vladimir Putin. He is coddled with Kim Jong-un because Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. He's basically said he'd be a dictator on day one. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Gerald, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Gerald?
I just want to discuss RFK Jr. for a minute.
Sure.
And I think you guys are totally wrong about the fact that because Donald Trump and RFK Jr. are both selfish, all they think about is themselves, is that they'll be able to get along.
I
haven't said anything about RFK Jr. in the show yet. I haven't said anything yet about RFK Jr. at all.
So talk to me. What have I said that you specifically disagree with?
Okay, well, you said that because they both are selfish people,
they'll probably get along. Here's why I say that.
Oh, they'll get along.
Right.
But you said that they would get along.
Yes, here's why.
That's not an outrageous statement.
Hold on.
I have no problem with that statement. Yeah.
Let me explain why I said that. Because when you have two people that are out for themselves and they know they can get something from one another, usually they'll get along. Donald Trump is getting the endorsement, which I do think, I take that very seriously, by the way, and it could change the outcome. It could. I don't know if it will. But the point being, Donald Trump is getting something out of what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing. What's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. getting out of this? He remains relevant and most likely will get a cabinet position within the Trump administration. So you have two people that are in it for themselves that are capable of getting along because they're both getting something out of it. Now, you can disagree with me on that statement, but I don't think that's far-fetched at all, my friend.
No, not really. But what is JFK Jr. Is it RFK? It's RFK Jr.
Yep.
What is he famous for?
For being
he's famous for being a environmental attorney up until about 3-4 years ago, and now he's just an opportunist when it comes to the political world. And he's basically
famous.
He's playing off his name.
Famous in the political world.
He's famous because of his last name.
Okay,
No, it's
so,
his last
so
name.
here's
Yeah.
my
It's
answer.
his last name.
Here's
He's
my answer.
famous for being anti-vax.
He became more of a I was going to go
that's
there.
a fair statement.
So
Yeah.
here's my answer. He became more famous and more of a household name because of his crazy statements that he has made, not only about the vaccines. Just the bear story alone is lunacy in its own right. He says a lot of crazy things, and I would also argue he's said and done a lot of things that can harm people and have harmed people. If you look up the Samoan story, and when he went out there and 80 kids died out there that were unvaccinated, and I asked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about it, and he said it was all BS. It's not. So what is he famous for really besides his last name, if not for his last name, and what happened to his dad, which is horrible, and what happened to his uncle, which is horrible, then we would not know who Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is.
So my point here is that when Donald Trump finds out that there's a lot of people even in MAGA that are pro-vax, I think when Donald Trump finds out that Kennedy is going to hurt his polling because of his anti-vax stance.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there, if I may, sir, and you can tell me whether both of you disagree with me or not on this. I've been to RFK Jr. rallies. The overwhelming majority of RFK Jr. supporters are two things. They're anti-vax, and they lean towards Donald Trump. So,
but Trump's people aren't anti-vax. That's what I'm saying.
What do you mean?
The point she's making, Brian, the point she's making is that and this is the point she's making. Let me speak for you for a second, right? You're saying that there are a significant amount of people that are MAGA and that are Trump supporters that got the vaccine, essentially, right? I hate using these terms. By the way, I hate using these terms pro-vax and anti-vax. If you're anti-vax, I think you're an idiot, okay? Vaccines are designed to help mankind. They're not, there's no pro-vax. You're just someone who thinks, okay, I'm going to listen to public health experts and scientists, and I'm going to take a vaccine because I think it's going to keep me alive. But the point she's making, I'll finish off, right, by saying, Brian, she's trying to say, I think she is saying, that there is a contingency of Trump voters and MAGA people that took the vaccine. They're pro-Trump. So they're going to be – so, no, Brian, are you not listening? Or are you not listening?
I am listening, and that's why I'm interjecting. We just want to get our pronouns right. I don't believe this is a she that's calling in. I believe this is a he.
Oh, I'm a man.
Okay.
My mistake. But getting back to the meat of this discussion, the point he's making, okay, is that there's a contingency in MAGA and Trump supporters that got the vaccine, and so they're going to be pissed, Brian, because RFK Jr. is even in the discussion of shouldering up next to Trump.
Listen, I can tell you right now from experience. I've been to the RFK Jr. rallies. These are not people that are going to be voting for Kamala Harris. 702-221-7283. Who do we have next? We have Damon next up on PTL, and most of these people that are RFK Jr. supporters are anti-vax. There's no question about that. What's up, Damon?
Brian.
Hey, Damon. What's up, man?
Hey, Damon.
Hey, what's up, Chris? I'm listening to him talk about how Kamala got to the top sleeping on her back, and I'm trying to follow the logic of that because she was an elected position. So if it's an elected position, her first election, she got like 70 or 66,000 votes, and they had to do a runoff, and she got 137,000 votes. So if she just had to put in work with that extra 70,000, Brian, I want her to be my president anyway if she can pull that off. Because if you got to convince every 137,000 people to elect you by sleeping on your back, Brian, that's impossible.
I agree.
Don't get the logic of it.
And I think both of you know who I'm talking about, where there's a local radio host here in Las Vegas who I've called a kook before, who literally has said that Kamala Harris has slept her way to the top and she made her career by lying on her back. And how a program director or a general manager of a radio station, regardless if somebody is paying to be on the radio or not, could allow that stuff on their airwaves. And we have some people on social media that are saying she did. Well, guess what? Call into this show then. Don't be a coward.
And make the case.
And make your case.
You're not going to be able to, but try.
You won't be able to, but I'll give you the opportunity to try. 702-221-7283. But Damon, it's going back to what I said before.
Hold on, though, Brian, 1 second.
Yeah.
The problem is this. Black women are the most unprotected demographic in our society. That's the bigger problem.
Sure.
The second problem is this. It's very easy in American society for some reason to over-sexualize a black woman and it be believed. Who would say that a woman that worked her way through college, McDonald's, turned into a DA, it would be so believable for her to get there sleeping on her back? That's part of the problem, too, Brian, is implicit bias is wrong.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, if we want to talk about Melania Trump, and boy, I would never disparage
Exactly.
her. But don't get me wrong.
Her.
There is no question, right, guys, that the reason why Melania Trump married Donald Trump is because of his lavishly good looks and the fact that he's just a really good all-American man and a great man. I'm sure the second Melania Trump laid eyes on Donald Trump, she wasn't thinking about anything else but what a wonderful man he is, and it was love at first sight. By the way, she hasn't been on the campaign trail. The only contractual agreement that she showed up to was the RNC, where she looked like she didn't want to be there and she doesn't want to be anywhere near him. This is the same woman who walks around in New York City with her $40,000 handbags and won't be seen anywhere near Donald Trump. But these same right-wing MAGA Republicans want to attack Kamala Harris, who's a good mother, who's a good wife, and, good stepmother. And the actual mother has had nothing but praise. This is a wonderful family. They're really good people. And I don't have a lot of nice things to say about anybody within the Donald Trump family, to be honest with you, including Jared Kushner, who took $2.1 billion from the Saudis, including Ivanka Trump, who made over $600 million in trademarks from China when her father was president of the United States. Oh, yeah, by the way, 2 other people that don't want to be seen anywhere near Donald Trump on the campaign trail.
And Damien, by the way, I'm going to respond to your comment off the top of your phone call, right, where you said, I'm trying to follow the logic of all of this. Let me tell you something, brother. There is no logic, all right? It is a ridiculous take. It is a judgmental, you are an a-hole if you bring that up and act like Kamala Harris has been successful and has gotten to the peaks in life that she's gotten to and has killed it in the game of life because she happened to hook up with Willie Brown back in the 1980s or the early 1990s.
Yeah.
You are an idiot, and it is clueless.
Yeah, well,
Period.
we get used to these sort of attacks from the far right. They happen every day. As I mentioned earlier today, they're saying that Harris flip-flopped on the border wall. No, she didn't. She gave in and negotiated, for lack of a better term, putting forth the border bill that Donald Trump shot down. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. You can look that up if you guys don't believe me. 702-221-SAVE. It's funny because the people on social media that say, oh, she did sleep her way to the top. I give you the opportunity to call into the show and make your case. It's funny. None of them want to do it.
Super quiet it's just deafening the silence from any phone calls actually coming in and making any statements about that.
Let's go to
it's just so brutal, bro.
It is. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on PTL. What's going on, Carl?
Hey, Brian and Chris, how you guys doing?
Good.
Listen, I want to first tell you, Brian, right away. I charged $5,000 for an on-the-air interview, but nobody's taken me up on it yet. I don't know why.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather pay for you to come on than Kash Patel any day of the week.
Well, there'd be more intelligence, that's for sure. Listen, I got to change the subject real quick. For laughs, sometimes I listen to your friend Wayne Allen Kook.
Yes.
Just for laughs. And
he's definitely the opposite of my friend. I'll tell you that, buddy.
And yesterday he had a bit. He singled you out. You didn't hear it probably, but he said you absolutely are an idiot. You have no more than 2 or 3 listeners.
Oh, really?
He said you're jealous of it. Yeah. He says you're.
Did he mention my name on the
jealous.
air?
No, he said he's the other one of the other Jewish on air man, and I know who he's talking about. Because you pick on him sometimes too, but
well, if I have to, we've taken phone calls now for the last hour. I've had more phone calls in the last hour than he'll have phone calls in a year.
I know.
Why does he never open up the phone lines? Because he can't get any callers because he doesn't have any listeners.
You know, Yeah, he said that you're jealous of him for all the millions he makes.
He doesn't have
and,
millions. His last home foreclosed. He doesn't have millions.
I know, and all the people who listen to him across the country, he's one of the biggest of all.
Yeah,
and he says you're absolutely jealous. You're jealous of him, and you're an idiot, and you're, all the
Well,
old
let me
stuff.
be very clear. I'm
And-
glad I'm getting to him. But
Yeah.
the reason why I tweeted something about him yesterday is because he was one of those people that put out a tweet that claimed that, it was a sexual innuendo joke. I would ask him, Carl, if you listen, I've never listened to his show. He was not invited to the RNC. Ask him why. A guy who coddles and wears the Donald Trump knee pads was not invited to the RNC. If he was this prominent person that had all these listeners and a prominent force in radio, why wasn't he invited to the RNC? Everybody else was invited to the RNC. Some
Well, I can
Democrats
tell
were
you.
invited to the RNC. Why wasn't he invited
I
to the
can-
RNC?
Well, I can tell you real quick in one sentence, he wasn't as bright as all the other people that were invited to the RNC.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I love it. I
that's-
love the fact that I'm getting to him. I love the fact
Oh,
that
you
he
are.
takes the opportunity to talk about me on his show, even though he only has a few listeners. If there's anybody
Yeah,
that has
he
2 or 3 listeners, it's Wayne. But here's what I'll do. If Wayne would like, if he wants to provide me his email or something, I will provide him. I have at minimum about 100,000 people that watch this show per day. And all I have to do is take a screenshot on social media of the following and the listenership. If Wayne could provide me that same base, I'll make a bet with him right now. Any amount, if he's a millionaire, he can afford it, right? I'll make a bet with him right now that I have more people that listen to my show every day, probably 10 times more, by the way, than he does. So I would love to do that if he wants to do that.
Well, also about his, every day he brings up the same, it's like a recording over and over and over again, the same words, the same subject, the vaccine he's so against. Everybody who takes a vaccine drops dead, he says. Everybody.
Hey, I would
Like a
love to have a
doctor.
big payday, since he, thank you, Carl, since he claims that he is a millionaire. I would love to have a payday.
As someone who is a connoisseur of Las Vegas radio, I tend not to, want to take a dump on radio stations around this town because basically I'm on almost every one of them. Quite frankly, I've hosted basically 90% of the sports talk shows, especially in this town, on numerous stations. The station that he's on, other than the fact that you had a show there for a little while, back when I first met you, is the only time I've actually tuned into that station. I don't even know if they have an audience, if they even show up when it comes to ratings. It's just kind of inconsequential, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
I'm going to show you real quickly here what exactly, Chris, I am talking about when it comes to certain people on the far right that put out statements about Kamala Harris that are, quite frankly, absolutely despicable and disgusting.
Well, it happens every day.
And this is the tweet that this person put out, and I will read it verbatim. This was yesterday. MSM, please quote me. Wayne Allen Root says, no one knows what Kamala's positions are for sure, except missionary and Free Willy. Now, he put that out on social media, obviously misogynistic.
Wise ass.
Disgusting,
Yeah,
misogynistic, and pathetic.
Yeah.
But somehow, people like that are allowed to be on the radio.
Well,
and it's
that goes
despicable.
without saying, though. And by the way, the guy that you guys were talking about for that entire phone call there, he's not the only one. There's others in this town.
Sure.
That speak in the same terms and talk in the same way and have the same worldview that someone like he does. And it's not just specific to Las Vegas. It's all over the country. And if you jump on social media, if you jump on X, if you jump on Facebook, if you jump on Instagram, if you jump on TikTok, you're going to have, you're going to get hit with a barrage of people that are Republicans, or they may be MAGA and they may be Republicans, or they may be on the right, or they may be independents. We know somebody ourselves who claims to be kind of an independent, but all he does is take a dump on all things Democrats every single day, right? And takes a dump on the LGBTQ community, right? And wants to be judgmental and wants to complain and wants to bitch and moan, right? We both know somebody that like that, all right? And he claims to be an independent. So, I mean, it goes, it's par for the course, all right? It's out there in force, all right? And we see it every day.
Number to call is 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to JD who's next up on PTL. Hello, JD.
Hi, I have two questions for you fellows. Number one is about Kamala Harris. Number two, about the radio station.
Okay, so let's do one at a time. Let's do one question at a time. So,
Sure.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, he's probably going to.
Go
Sure.
ahead.
I haven't been able to listen to you for the last 5 days because your radio station's been off the air.
Well, there's something called social media. Do you know how to use Facebook or Twitter or YouTube?
Technical difficulties,
that,
JD.
Brian.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
I was talking about this, you being off the air for 5 days.
So
not his fault.
So
it's not his fault.
So JD, I'm so glad you brought that up because I give people the opportunity that are not maybe technically savvy. I broadcast live.
Okay, my second.
No. Hold on, JD. Let me.
What was the first question?
Okay,
What's the first
hold
question,
on with the first question. I give people.
I don't think he's asked the first question.
He
yet.
hasn't, but he just said that I was off the air for 5 days. By the way, I was still
It
doing
wasn't
my
5
show.
days, though, was it?
Hold on a second. Let me just finish. So JD, I'm on something called YouTube. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. We have video, live video. I'm also on something called Facebook. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. A guy by the name of.
I did look you up on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad you did that.
The closest show I could get was about 3 months ago.
I don't know what you're talking about. We broadcast.
It's live.
We're live every day on YouTube. So JD,
the show's live.
JD, it's okay.
Free.
Listen,
you don't have to pay for it.
Listen,
it's
JD, it's okay. Sometimes people are not technically savvy. I'm happy to help you out. So on YouTube, we do something called broadcasting live. What that means is that we're actually live on YouTube every day. So if you go on my page right now, which is at PTL Radio Show, you'll see the show is live. So if you go to my live shows, you'll also see it's documented every show on YouTube.
Maybe I got an Obama phone.
Okay, or maybe you're just not very technically savvy and you're just trying to insult me on the air and it just backfired on you. But that's okay, JD. I'm happy to help my slow MAGA friends. So JD, go ahead.
He hasn't asked his first question.
So JD, go ahead and ask your. So JD, go ahead and ask.
JD, what's your first question?
So JD, go ahead and ask your first question.
It would be regarding Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
who
Kamala,
exposed
By the way,
the
why don't you
story-
pronounce her name right before you
you're
ask
not
the
even
question?
close, JD. It's not
Okay,
even close.
Susan. Hey, Susan.
Kamala.
Excuse me.
There you go.
Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala. Who exposed the Kamala Harris story, and when did they do it?
Which story are you referring to, JD? I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, the story that you're talking about of her being on her back or on her knees and how
I never.
It's been well known for years. Yeah,
Okay,
that situation is what I'll call it.
hold on a second.
Well, Brian,
The question was incorrect.
Brian, you said fellows,
But let
so
me
I'm
just-
going to answer it.
I'm going to
for
let you answer, and I'll be quiet.
him. Okay, but no, you're interrupting me while I'm answering it.
Hold on. The question
I'm
was
giving
not
a very
correct.
concise
I
answer.
will be quiet and let you answer if you could give me 10 seconds.
Okay, well, I guess. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Interrupt you
appreciate-
again. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Good.
JD, I never said the story was about her on her knees or on her back. What I said was there are people on the far right that claim she's been on her knees and to get where she was. The story that you're referring to had nothing to do with being on her knees or on her back. It's a story about how she allegedly, and it wasn't an affair, by the way, but allegedly had a relationship with Willie Brown. So I just want to characterize your question because it was
All right.
wrong the way it was phrased.
Who exposed that and when?
Okay, so it's been common knowledge of the situation, JD, has been common knowledge for a number of years since she's been in public office. And I mean, Brian, okay, let me finish can I finish the answer first before you jump in and interrupt me? Okay. It's been common knowledge for a number of years since she's been in public office, right? Because it's been used by opponents, right? And people that have issues with her, right? And it's been brought up as something that's derogatory and negative, all right? So that's the answer I'll give you. Now, Brian is characterizing it as an alleged affair. Affair is the word that's, by the way, affair is not right. That's not the right word to use, okay? She had I believe she's acknowledged, too, that it's factually accurate. She had a relationship with Willie Brown back in the 80s or 90s. It's not an alleged affair or alleged.
I agree.
They
Okay,
had
I agree.
a relationship.
I agree. So,
it's a fact.
Okay, I agree. So we have that point that Chris just made, and he's
Well, no,
correct.
I just answered his question,
Okay,
too. Yeah.
so JD, now I would like to ask you a question, if I may. Yeah. Do you think Kamala Harris slept her way to the top?
I have no facts to say that.
Okay.
I have no
hold on.
knowledge.
Good answer.
The only thing I know is that Willie Brown is the one who exposed it.
Okay, so JD, a lot of the people on the far right, I'm not saying you, but there are a lot of attacks on the far MAGA right that are making claims like Wayne Allen Root. I read his tweet that she somehow slept her way to the top. Are you willing to denounce that and say it's wrong on this show right now?
unless you have factual proof, you can't say it. No,
Right.
I agree.
Okay. So I appreciate that.
But the people that brought this about, the person that brought this about was Willie Brown. Maybe
Because
he
was in the relationship with her.
So
who cares?
So who cares?
Yeah,
JD?
he's the only one that has direct knowledge about the situation.
I think we all can agree.
Allegedly,
right? JD, I think we all can. Hold on, JD. I want to get to your.
But it doesn't mean anything, JD.
Hold on, JD.
Yeah. What difference does it make?
Hold on, JD. I just want to get to your second question, but before I do that, I think we all can come to a consensus here. There is zero evidence that Kamala Harris, quote, slept her way to the top. She was a duly elected official in San Francisco.
Multiple times.
She became an elected senator and then chosen as
yes.
vice president. Okay, so now that we can get off that issue.
Second question.
Okay, what was your second question?
What happened to Kamala's father?
What happened to
What are you referring
Kamala's
to?
father?
Yeah, I have no idea.
What do you mean by what happened? What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, there was a film on the convention that showed her sister and her mother.
Sure.
And there was no pictures of her father.
Sure.
Her father is still,
So I'll
still
answer
alive.
that. I'll answer that.
He's 80. He's 86 years old.
I'll answer it.
And she has
I know
not
the answer.
mentioned her father.
I know the answer to that. Harris has not had the best of relationships with her father. She was, and what she said, and actually admitted to this, if you listen to any of her speech, which I thought you did, she said for the most part, for most of her life, she was raised by her mother. Her mother and father had some issues and they were separated. I don't know. Why is that an issue for you?
What is your point?
Well, I was just wondering because of the fact she didn't mention. Do you know where she lived from the time she was 12 to 18 years old?
Do I know?
In Canada, right? She was in Canada.
Do I know where she was lived?
Canada. Wasn't it Canada?
Okay. Tell us, JD.
She lived for a period of time in Canada, right?
I mean,
Chris, you're right. She went to school.
Yes, I am
from,
right. Yes, I am.
So why?
Again, I don't really. You're bringing up
years.
points. So you're bringing up specific points, JD. What's your overall?
What's the point?
Reason for this? Yeah, like what's your end game? I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess the fact that her growing up formative years, 12 years old to 18 years old, were in another country.
Oh, I see. So you're going to go with the birther stuff then, right?
I don't understand. Well, yeah, but she's first of all, I don't know about growing up. She spent a period of time in her young life in Canada.
Okay.
I'm from Michigan, JD. Okay, which is essentially Canada. I don't know, it's right there. We're right there,
hold
baby.
On a second.
Hold
on
I can see Ottawa from my house. Hey, Brian, I know you're getting frustrated, but there is two people in here like hosting the show kind of right now. I'm actually responding to JD.
So
just calm down. All right,
JD,
you're getting very red.
What is your point?
Yes, you're getting very red.
Okay,
I was responding to what he said. Well, dude, you're acting like I shouldn't even respond ever. Like I don't understand why you're acting like that.
Let me just have a conversation with JD.
Okay,
real
go
quick.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So JD, if Harris was in Canada between 12 and 18, why is that an issue for you? Why are you even asking us?
Well,
that?
if I had to ask her, if I had the opportunity to ask her a couple of questions,
is she Canadian
one
now?
of them would be.
Hold on.
Pardon me.
Is she Canadian now? I guess I don't know.
Go ahead, JD. Yeah. Go ahead.
One of the questions would be, did you ever celebrate the 4th of July in Canada?
Of all the questions that
it's a weird
Hold
question.
on a second, Chris.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, hold on a second. Of all the questions that you could ask Kamala Harris, if ever given the opportunity, which I hope you never get that opportunity, because that would be
never will.
Okay,
I never will.
I don't think you should get that opportunity if that would be the question that you would ask her. All the issues that we have, and the question that you would ask is, have you ever celebrated the 4th of July? JD, are you a serious person?
That's kind of lame, JD. You got to admit. That's a lame.
I thought that would trip your trigger, but I would like to have the press.
It's a lame question, man.
I'm sorry. What was your answer, JD? What was your answer? Go ahead.
I would like the press to be able to ask her some questions.
Like if she ever celebrated.
Wait, time out. When she was a kid,
she's been
JD?
nominated for 36 days and not has had a press conference.
Okay, so you just brought JD. Don't try to change the subject. You just brought up.
I'm not changing no subject.
You brought up the subject. No, you're changing the subject from what you just discussed, which is we should ask Kamala Harris about her spending a few years in Canada, whether or not she celebrated the 4th of July. And now you're trying to move the goalposts and talk about how the press conference thing that Republicans bring up about the last month and a half.
So, JD, let's see if we can continue this conversation. So you said that would be the question that you would want to ask Kamala Harris.
Yes,
you didn't answer.
I said it would be one of the questions.
And my question to you is, which I really didn't get an answer on because we kind of got off that. Why is that important to you?
Well, first of all, it's not important. It's curiosity.
Okay.
As someone who lived for 6 years in Canada, running for president of the United States, I was just wondering how she celebrated the 4th of July.
Question for you then.
I would rather ask her questions. How have you changed your mind on fracking in Pennsylvania and drilling?
Sure.
How have you changed your mind on getting rid of the ICE people? How have you changed your mind on saying that illegals are not illegals and they should be able to come to this country and you would afford them? How?
Okay, so you're wrong. Your characterization there is wrong.
Bail out people in Minnesota.
You're wrong.
That committed murder.
Everything that you're saying is wrong. Okay, I'm going to.
No, it's not.
Okay, so now it's my turn to talk. She never said that she wanted to bail out people who committed murder. You are wrong. She helped put together. Excuse me.
That.
I heard what you just said.
I didn't say she said.
I
that.
don't
She
have
bailed
MAGA wax.
People out
I don't
that
have.
committed
It's
murder.
my turn now, JD, to respond. I don't have MAGA wax in my ears when it came to Minnesota, and she did not support or donate money or help people who committed very serious crimes. These were the lower level crimes where she wanted to make sure that she actually was able. Well, you can laugh with your MAGA laugh all you want to.
The MAGA laugh.
But to continue, okay, I'm giving you facts, and you can look that up if you don't believe me, because quite frankly, sir, you say a lot of things on this show that are factually inaccurate or not true. But hey, I'll give you credit for something, because most people in this country, if they have an opportunity to possibly ask a question to the next president of the United States and the first female president of the United States, certainly.
I have one more question.
No, hold on. I'm not done yet. The first thing that comes to mind with most Americans would be, did you ever celebrate the 4th of July? That's a very intelligent question,
when you were in
JD.
Canada.
So,
by the way, in middle school or elementary school, because she was in high school in Oakland. She went to high school in Oakland.
Very, very intelligent. Okay.
Mr. Shapiro, I said that to get a rise out of you, and obviously,
okay.
It kind of worked.
I have one more question, if I may.
I can't wait. Yes, I do. I do celebrate holidays, JD. If that was your question, yes.
No. How many radio stations are you on compared to Wayne Allen Root?
How many radio stations am I on? See, okay, so here's the way I'll answer.
Country.
Sure. So here's the way JD is trying
to comparing Shap and Wayne Allen Root now. That's what we're doing, right?
So,
that's part of the show.
Okay, so I'll answer it. Can I answer
nobody
it?
Cares.
Okay, so I'll answer the question.
Yeah.
So JD, what I said was I have more listeners than him. I don't care how many. I don't know how many radio stations he's on. Here's what I do know. I'll take an hour and a half of calls every single day. I'll have 100,000 people listening to this show a day. Doesn't matter how many radio stations he pays to be on. All that matters is I have a larger listenership. I'm not a bigot. I'm not like you, JD. So have a nice day, JD. Have a nice day, JD. Have a nice day.
JD doesn't even realize that he just led you into basically what you do at the end of your show, right? He just gave you a chance to pimp PTL, baby.
He did.
He just gave you a chance to pump it up. That's what he did. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just that whole phone call again. Brian, I come in. I've been in here in like 2 weeks. I come in here, phone calls everywhere. It's brutal.
We'll take one more
some bad phone calls. A couple good ones, but mostly bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to we got about 1 minute. Let's go to Lauren next. What's up, Lauren?
Hey, Lauren.
Yes. Hi. How you doing, Brian?
Good.
And
What's
Chris.
on your mind?
What's going on?
I think one of my biggest concerns right now with the policies of the present administration is the war in Ukraine. I believe that the us basically poking the bear is going to have a very bad effect. I've just read an article from the New York Times that Lavrov, who is Putin's foreign minister, stating that, the war, a third world war, would not just involve Europe. And we have the Russians with their fleet in Cuba right now with nuclear weapons. I'm very concerned about this. I don't think, the things that Putin has said would be kind of a red line. we keep crossing it. And then Zelensky saying that, oh, he's just bluffing.
Well, I can tell you what I have concerns, and thank you for the call, Lauren. I'm sorry, I'm up against
time. Yeah.
In closing, I'll just say this: I think we're all concerned about Vladimir Putin. It's rightfully, to be concerned. I would be more concerned if Donald Trump was president than Kamala Harris, since he's never said one negative thing about Vladimir Putin. In fact, he's praised Vladimir Putin. Harris has not. Joe Biden has not. They've called him a dictator, and rightfully so. Chris, thank you for being here on a very busy Tuesday news day, that's for sure. I just want to remind everybody to check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. And of course, I have merchandise up there where you can buy mugs, shirts, hats, whatever you want. If you don't want to buy the merchandise, there's always on that cover page a donate button. It doesn't matter what it is, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford. And I will be reaching out to you directly for that. We appreciate everybody for calling in. And I welcome my MAGA callers. I love it when MAGA callers call in because I love to prove them wrong. It's always enjoyable for me. I have fun doing it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Tomorrow on the show, actor and director Jeremy London's going to be joining us, as well as from Midas Touch, Adam Mockler is going to be joining us as well. We'll cover all the breaking news in the next 24 hours here. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Have a good one. Stay safe. See you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
I got you.